I started a chopping block series, I think at the end of 2024, maybe the beginning of 2025. Well, since I didn't do makeup all of 2025 until like the very end, I decided to bring it back and re-include the same palettes. So in today's video, we're going to be talking about one of those that I included. So if you haven't seen that video, I will link it down below. But if you're interested to see my thoughts, are we keeping it, some looks I did with it, then keep on watching. I selected a handful of palettes that I showed in the Chopping Block 2.0 series, one of them being a palette that I had rolled in or picked for my January Focus Palettes No Pan Left Behind monthly palette challenge thing that I started, which I will link that playlist down below if you want to catch up and see how I'm doing in that one 10 pan palette in Lights Off. This is what it looks like. I have been very hesitant on whether I should keep it or not, and that is why it has been neglected and kept probably the most times out of any other palette in my collection. I didn't use this palette exclusively. I don't have looks creating just this palette. I do on my channel have two tutorials using this palette when I first got it years ago. Terrible quality. If you want to watch it, I will link it down below. But for recently, in the month of January, I did not use just this palette alone. I combined it with all the other palettes that I had selected so that way I could get use out of everything and see what kind of color combinations. I'll only be including the looks in this video that I have used this palette, talk about the shade I used in that specific look from this palette, and just kind of go over what I thought about those shades, then collectively as a whole palette, and then at the very end you will know my thoughts. Now I did kind of spoil this in another video, so if you watch that you probably will know the verdict on this, but if you didn't, you'll find out in today's video. So I apologize in advance. I do have my phone of the looks that I post, because I post all of my looks on Instagram, which the first look that I included this palette, the Wet n Wild one, is this look, and this one is a very like gold, blue, purple sort of look, and in this look I used the shade from row 1, shade 4, so it's this one right here. This shade is a very it gets hard pan sometimes. I think it's kind of picking up hard pan right now, but it is a very like cool tone, grayish almost champagne color, but it is very light and it's more of like a topper. So I'm pretty sure I either use that in my inner corner or maybe just topped it on another shade. But this one is one of my favorite shades out of this palette. That is mainly why I kept this palette, because I was like, I want it for that shade, and then I should take it out because I'm only keeping it for just a few shades. The next look that incorporated this palette is this like purpley, sort of dark moody with a gray sort of like shimmer shade. And this look I used the shades row 2, shades 2, 3, and 5. So if we look at the palette, row 2, shades 2, 3, and 5. Now, we'll talk about this one first. This one is a really pretty, like, charcoaly, gray cool tone, which is lacking in my collection. The only other palette that I can think of off the top of my head that has gray tones, or a gray shade, is my blends from Blend Bunny. And this one is a little bit darker, so this one is actually useful. Shade 3 is this one right here, which is a cool tone, gray, almost like a steel sort of shimmer shade, and that one is pretty. I think that's what's on my lid in the look. It didn't really, I guess, show up all that great. I think maybe my eyeballs that day were struggling with me, and that tends to happen. I tend to have some struggle bus moments when my eyes are deciding to flare up, and that's on me for doing makeup. The last one is this one, which is another sort of cool tone. This one is almost like a cool shimmer version of this one. And it's like a taupe with a little bit of glitter into it, and it's a topper, which is very similar to that shade here. If I swatch those out, that is what they look like, which honestly, that's a really pretty color story on its own. I don't know why I didn't do that, but those are those 3 shades that I used. I didn't really have any trouble with these. They all blend fine. I mainly use glitter primer to apply, especially those like shimmer toppers. If I'm struggling for pigment, I will most likely grab a glitter primer, or if I'm just putting it on top of another shimmer, then I don't really need to do that. And then I will put sometimes in the inner corner, and they worked just fine. For this next look, I created a very smoky, very deep look for myself. I was trying to go for something mixing like golds and silvers. You know, you see that a lot in jewelry, and I kind of wanted to play that up in my makeup. And for the look, I used the shade from row 2, shade 4, which is this one right here, which is almost like a grayish taupe matte shade here. This one is really pretty too. It does show up, as you see, in the pan. It's a very pretty shade. It's very easy to work with. I didn't have any trouble, and you can definitely use this, you know, on its own or mixed with other cool tone shades. You know, nothing really bad to say there. I actually really enjoyed the more cooler taupey sort of shades, because that's not typically colors I tend to go for, and so picking those this time around for January cool months, it was a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed that. The next look I did is this pinky, purpley, with a little bit hint of brown in it. And for that one, I ended up going into the top row here, first row, second shade into this like cocoa, more neutral brown shade. That's not a shade I typically grab if I'm thinking of this palette or that I had this palette in January. It was more so just using it to use it and play it up with others to darken a look, or to add maybe just a little bit of brown if that's what I was looking for, a deeper brown. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's definitely soft, it blends, it shows up. It is a very pretty brown. I don't really have anything like it in my collection. I just don't typically gravitate towards brown shades just in it entirely. Like, if I do, it's mostly to deepen. I don't really do liners with them or anything like that. But, I mean, that one was fine. As long as I used the shade, I was happy and I could move on. That was pretty much my goal for that shade. And next look is this one, which was inspired by Crusty Kristen here on YouTube as well as Instagram. That's her handle. I'm not calling her Crusty, that's what she called herself. There was a video that I had watched of her, and she had this really pretty like yellow-green eye look, and I was like, oh, I can do that with the shades that I have chosen in January's Focus palettes. So I ended up creating this, which was really pretty. I just added a little bit of more brown and coppery and brown shades into my look than she did. I think she had a very like gold shimmer across her eye, if I'm not mistaken. But this one was so pretty, and from the palette, this is another shade right here, this middle brownish coppery color shimmer. That's another one that I don't typically gravitate towards in this palette. I just needed to get a use off of it so that I can no pan left behind. And once I did that, I was like, great, I'm done. I don't ever have to touch it again. It's a pretty shade. There's nothing wrong with it. You know, it's just not my forte of colors. You know, I do have my neutral moments, but I just, as long as I got my use, I was happy. I was like, okay, that's good. I will go on to other better shades. This next look is a very blue, cool tone blue smoky look with a pop of like pinky purple on the lid. For this look, I did use the palette again, and I used two shades that I had previously used in previous looks that I had shown already. The first one being from row 1, shade 4, so it is this like champagne-y cool tone glitter topper, sorry, that I think we saw this in the very first look. And then the second shade was from row 2, shade 4, which is this like taupey brown gray matte shade. So I'm not going to swatch those. We saw those already. I already talked about those, but I just want to show you all of the looks that I used, all of the shades within a given palette. The next look is this one, which is more of like this neutral sort of brown smoky basic eye look. For this one, I just wanted to keep it very simple on the eyes. I wanted to focus, I guess, heavily on brown shades. I did use the same like coppery brown shimmer shade from row 1, shade 3 right here in this look. You know, it showed up. I'm pretty sure I used glitter primer for that as well, and it showed up. It worked fine. I had no troubles with the shimmer. You know, I mean, I did use it previously before. So yeah, it's just, I guess I got another use of it. I didn't think I did, but I'm learning with y'all here too. This next look was an unintentional like eye look that I did based off of the Pantone color of the year, which, if we're not familiar with it, it's called Cloud Dancer. It's basically a white leaning blue shade. It's a very plain, very stale, very boring. I was also inspired because there was a look that Alejandra Lisette here on YouTube and as well as Instagram, she was talking about the Pantone color of the year, how you can incorporate in your eyeshadow, your wardrobe, and everything else. And the eye look she was wearing was so pretty. I was like, I have to try and recreate this. I have to dig into my stash to do something similar to this. And I was able to do that with some of my other palettes and shades, and also dig into this palette. And I did use this taupey shade again here, which surprisingly I do really enjoy out of this palette. When I had previously put it in, my main concern was just the 3 shimmers here that I like talk about over and over again, saying that I love those. I use those all the time. I just get use off of those more than anything else, but you know, incorporating it with other palettes, I find that, you know, some of these other shades I actually quite like as well, and it was a shock to learn. So this next look, I'm calling it like a sunset-y sort of type of vibe because that's what it reminded me of. In this look, yes, my eyes are very much irritated with me. I still did makeup even though I shouldn't have. That is a lesson that I will never learn, but that's a me problem. That's not anybody's concern but mine. Within this look, I used another repeat shade, and it was from row 2, shade 5, which is this last one here. And again, this is the light shimmer taupey topper shimmer shade. So again, another, you know, you see me using those a lot because that's what I gravitate towards for this palette. It's just so pretty. It's easy to work with, easy to blend, easy to apply. It needs a little bit of help, but when you pack a punch and build it up, it is just gorgeous. Now, I realized that on this palette, I did do markings, little Sharpie red dots next to each shade that I had used. According to my palette, I marked off the black one, but in all of my looks and my notes, I don't think I ever mentioned that shade. Unless I skipped over it and miscounted in a previous look. But I'm pretty sure I used that in one of the looks to darken it up just a little bit, and I guess I didn't remember to write it down, but pretty sure I have no pen left behind this, because my verdict is this palette is staying in my collection. Did you actually guess that if you didn't watch my other video? Why did you think it would be kept? Or why did you not think I was going to keep it? I want to know. But this palette is being kept because I really enjoyed for this entire bottom row, plus of course those two top shades that I talk about over and over and over again. But I don't really care for these three shades. I do have this green sort of similar in my Jaclyn Hill palette, and I'm pretty sure similar in some other palettes. That's just kind of a, if there's a green that I need and I'm having this palette, then it's there. I don't really care for this brown and that copper shade. You guys know my gripe with browns. Some days I like them, some days I don't. I don't find that it works in this palette very much. I mean, you could use this right here, this little trio, or even like this little quad here, but for me, I'm just like, I will neglect it. It's fine. I don't care, but I love these smoky gray taupe tones. Didn't think I would, because I don't lean for cool tones. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely missing and neglected in my collection for these shades. I very much enjoyed using this palette. I very much finally got an understand where my head is at with this, and actually fully grasp its purpose in my collection, and I enjoy this. That is everything I wanted to talk about with this palette. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know, do you like this type of going over the palette and the looks with my chopping block palettes? I will continue to do this whenever the next palette is getting used. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day and or week, and I will see you in my next one. Bye bye, guys.